Hello, everybody. Welcome back. We are here yet again. It's 24 hours later, and the Padres of San Diego have made yet another blockbuster trade. The San Diego Padres have just acquired Yu Darvish and Victor Caratini from the Chicago Cubs for starting pitcher Zach Davies and four other of their prospects. The San Diego Padres have suddenly become one of the most aggressive teams in the game, not to mention they signed Ha-Sung Kim earlier in the day. The Padres team have made three insane moves over the last 24 hours. And now we said last night that doesn't put them over the hump of the Dodgers. I would say that this puts them that close to beating them right now. They are so close. What are your guys' initial thoughts on this? Anyway, whoever.
Oh, sorry. I forgot that tonight I got here first before Nick. But correct. Here's the thing. I've been waiting around here all night, just waiting for the word to say, oh, it's official. Here's the thing. This is insane. I think that the Padres are going all in. Win now. And the thing is that I don't like personally, this is an organization with a top 10 farm system that they're giving up a lot of. And is it worth it? Yu Darvish had a terrific year. I'm not saying that whatsoever. Yu Darvish, top 3 in pitching this year, in my opinion. He was that good. Whenever you have a pitcher who has a .96 whip, terrific. But at the same time, I don't know why the Padres are so willing to give up all of their farm system. And Marco, we know you've been saying they're in win now mode. It's evident. I think that we all know it's evident. They're in win now. And you got to give them credit. What A.J. Preller is doing is insane. What they wanted to do with Blake Snell was make him that number 2 or that number 1 with having Clevenger right behind him. Now, with Clevenger out, it's Blake Snell and Yu Darvish, then Clevenger, then Paddock, and Lamet. Where does Mackenzie Gore fit in here? Could Paddock be on the move to the bullpen? There's a lot of moving pieces with this team. And I don't know what is going to be best for them. I think that this rotation is dominant. This rotation is terrific. Are they close to the Dodgers? Yes, they're close. Dodgers are still better, in my opinion. I think the Dodgers have a more formidable offense. I think they still have a very good rotation. And I still think that the bullpen, I got to give that edge to the Dodgers as well. But this is a close one. This is going to be the closest race that we have this year. And it's going to be a great one. But I got to give it to the Dodgers as right now. But you got to give the Padres a ton of credit for what they're doing. They're going win now. They're making those big moves. And I love how they added in Caratini to give Yu Darvish his personal catcher.
There you go. Nick, the floor is yours.
Wow. This is awesome for the MLB, honestly, because before the Snell trade even happened, we kind of assumed that this would be the Dodgers division for years to come. And as of right now, it still stands that the NL West will run through Los Angeles, but this deal just makes everything so much more interesting, especially in 2022 when they get Clevenger back. Ryan, you just said we don't know where Gore fits in yet. And that's crazy because he's the best pitching prospect in baseball right now. And the fact that he might not have a spot in the rotation is insane to me. You know, like you said, Paddock might be dealt. We don't know what happened yet. But in 2022, that will be a race for the ages. I still obviously give the Dodgers still think the Dodgers are the better team as of right now. Better lineup. The pitching rotations are very similar. I would still give the edge to the Dodgers, maybe. I mean, honestly, after this Darvish deal, I could really give it to the Padres. But, wow, I have major props to San Diego for what they're doing. They're definitely – last night I was kind of mad that they were giving up so much for Snell, but after going with Darvish now, who was a top 3 pitcher last year, man, they're making moves. Their ceiling is as high as it's ever been. And as you're a Padres fan, you're very excited for the future.
Yeah, but there's now questions, not just with Mackenzie Gore. I think there's more questions now with Luis Campusano. You just got Caratini, and you also have Austin Nola for 4 more years. What do you do now with Campusano? You have your two catchers. If there's no DH, where does he fit in? What do you do with Campusano? There's so many moving pieces here, and the signing they made today, trade piece. That's obvious now. It's obvious for when they signed him. They don't need him. They have a third baseman. They have a third baseman. They have a shortstop.
Second baseman.
They have Cronenworth.
Cronenworth's going to play left field.
They will not put Cronenworth in left field. That would be an
They're going to. That is what they said. They're putting Cronenworth as their left fielder, which is why Kim is going to be their second baseman.
I don't like that whatsoever. I don't like Cronenworth being moved to left field like that.
I think it's worth it for the time being.
I agree.
I don't know how I feel about that, but it answers my main question about this team by moving Cronenworth to outfield is what do they do with the outfield? Because that's their biggest weakness now. And they are moving Cronenworth there, which makes sense. But there's a question of Tommy Pham. Where's he at? What are they going to do with Tommy Pham? They got Will Myers. They got Trent Grisham. They got Cronenworth now. Tommy Pham is probably going to be slotted into left field, which takes Cronenworth out of it. Unless you're not going to play Will Myers or Trent Grisham, which you're not going to do to either of those.
They probably won't play Trent Grisham.
Which I vehemently disagree with.
That's a big word.
So
Trent Grisham is good. This was his second season, and he took a lot of steps forward. I like what the Padres are doing. They're going for it now. They want to be that team that competes with the Dodgers, and I love to see it. I'm loving it. But looking at this, according to MLB.com, they have given up their number 3, number 7, number 11, 13, 15, 16. They're giving up pieces.
I wouldn't say that's worth it for Darvish and Snell, though.
I agree. And that was where I was going to go with it, is saying that this is such a short-term fix that is going to really kill their long-term. These are some insane prospects that these teams are getting rid of that, I mean, you look at the Padres and now they've given up some of their best prospects. Now, mind you, they've kept some of their top, but this kills a lot of their minor league depth. And Snell you only have for a couple of years. Darvish you have I think it's the same amount. I don't know the exact contract total for him, but
they're both free agents after 2024. And the nice thing about Darvish's contract is that it was more front loaded. This year he's getting paid 22, then goes down to 19, then the 18. So it's the opposite of Snell, but that's a lot of money. That's
right.
a lot of money.
The Cubs got a good deal back.
Yeah, I mean the Cubs and the Rays are clear winners here out of these trades for right now. I mean, I think I would
long term, yes.
For the winners.
This is the thing with these deals like this, is that you look at these kinds of trades and you can't determine a winner until 2 years from now. You know, we look back at a lot of these trades. You look back at the Chris Archer trade, and at the moment we said the Pirates were clear winners, but they weren't. The Pirates were the losers of that deal. And that's why it's so hard to judge right away that these prospects are either going to be incredible or they're going to be failures. And you never know. Blake Snell might not pitch well. Yu Darvish might not pitch well. We could look a year from now and say the same thing that we have said about some other teams in the past. Like this year, I forgot what team it was, but there was one team this year that made some moves in the offseason that just failed. And you look at those teams.
The Diamondbacks.
Right, exactly. The Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
You look at that and you say they made some huge moves, and after the year, they were a failure. And I'm worried that might happen to the Padres. Look, this is an incredible team, but these are two guys who are moving to two very new places. Yu Darvish has a history of when he's traded somewhere, he plays very poorly there the first couple of years in that spot. He didn't find his way with the Cubs until recently, and he didn't pitch well with the Dodgers at all.
Remember, tipping pitches is something that I'd be scared about as well. You had that whole scenario. What if that's not gone? There's a lot of what ifs, and I said it last night, and this trade proves my point. Padres are going in for that security blanket with Clevenger. This will be a second Tommy John. You don't know how he's going to perform. You don't know who Mike Clevenger is going to be.
Well, that's why I think getting Darvish is so huge here.
That's the thing. That's why it's big. And you're proving and I agree with you. This is why they're making those moves, because they're afraid that they might not get the Mike Clevenger back. And I think that is something that is scary.
Well, no, but then why would they extend him though if they are so scared of Tommy John surgery?
Strange. That's the thing.
Why would you just let him walk?
But
because
they
you don't know what you're
gave up
getting.
all
Way
that
more
money.
than they could have gotten him for if he was healthy.
Well, they gave up too much for him for them to just let him walk at this point.
Yeah, they gave up way too much for him to just walk. They're going to resign him. They got him for cheaper than they could have
He's already
gotten.
on the contract. They extended him before he went down.
Yeah.
They got him for 2 years, but the thing
It's
is that they
smart.
had him after.
Well, it's because they gave up a lot.
Well, then you could see Gord replacing Clevenger at that point.
Right, exactly. Which is the other thing is that, Ryan, you mentioned Chris Paddock could potentially go to the bullpen, is that they also, Dom has said that the Padres are not necessarily potentially, but have spoken a little bit about maybe trading Chris Paddock. And I think this really opens a door to that, is that, yeah, but his value is very high. It doesn't matter that he hasn't played in the last 2 years. I think Chris Paddock would still get you an incredible haul of prospects because he is a sophomore season player. How many times have we seen players play poorly in their sophomore year? Based on your reaction right now, that means that Cody Bellinger wouldn't get any prospects if you were traded right now just because he had one bad year. You can't go based on one season
At all. That's
But-
not.
But you can't look at 1 year. Chris Paddock is such a valuable player who is so young, so talented.
At the same time, there's going to be that scare of, was his first year a fluke? We know with Cody Bellinger, it's not a fluke. We know that. Even despite being a down year, he won them the NLCS with that home run. He made play after play. May not have been at the plate. He may have not had the best season, but he still did what he needed to do, which was make plays for his team. That's, in my opinion, not a good comparison, but I see your point. But Chris Paddock was so inconsistent. His ERA was over 4.7 this year. His whip went.
I don't think you can use a 60-game season to determine this.
I know,
Yeah.
but I still have to be worried about his inconsistency. And
Not-
that could be
If he was older, yes, but he's so young.
Yeah, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that this season proves everything, but this upcoming season could be a big indication. And if the Padres were going to trade Chris Paddock, I would not want to do it after this year. They shouldn't. They need to get Clevenger back, and I think that they need to keep a guy like that. And even if you end up moving to the bullpen instead of trading him, I think that's a better option. You could get a great haul for him. But I think Chris Paddock is a piece of that future for the Padres.
For sure.
And the thing is here that I just saw a tweet that the Cubs are still going to be eating some of the contract. And this is a pretty big deal because the money is such a big part of this. And, we said last night that this takes the Padres out of Trevor Bauer territory, but they went and got another pitcher anyway. So what's to say that they're not going to go and get Trevor Bauer? I mean, seriously. But we said that last night. We still
It would make sense.
You can't trade for Trevor Bauer. You can trade for Yu Darvish.
Yeah, but I mean, did I say trade? I meant sign. You got to. There's nothing keeping them from signing him. They might.
There's no room for him now.
There's no
Unless
room.
they're really going to move Paddock.
The fact that
They've got those two that they just traded for, and they've got Paddock. They got their guys. Who knows who they're going to put as their fifth? That could be Mackenzie Gore.
yeah, the fact that they're even questioning whether their best prospect will be in the rotation hints that they're done with pitching. It's over.
They're done.
The rotation is set for the year.
I'm going to say it like this. I think it is stupid if they go after another starter. They need to get some help in that bullpen. And I think they might be on the lookout for an outfielder, even though they're going to have Tommy Pham coming back. Tommy Pham was injury prone last year, and he's coming back. And I think that's a lot to question with Cronenworth is who is going to play in that outfield. Will Myers had a great year. He's going to stay in right. Trent Grisham, I would not put on the bench. Took a huge step up. And he could be their center fielder of the future. Tommy Pham is going to be in left field if he's healthy. So what do you do with Cronenworth?
I don't know. That's the thing is that if you put him in left field, that's still a bat. And if you put that bat in left field, I mean, I personally think that, I mean, look, we don't know what the Padres are doing. We've seen them. I mean, clearly when the Padres make one move, they come in bunches. So if they're going to do anything for the rest of the offseason, it's probably going to happen within the next 24 hours. This Padres team is a win now, get it done, move into winning position. And they are going to need they still are in need. They need bullpen help.
Yes.
Yes, they need to re-sign Trevor Rosenthal. If they don't do that, they need to get someone else. They still have to do something. And the Padres are now in a position where we know that they have these players that are outliers. Now they still might make another trade for maybe a Josh Hader. We've seen them go for some of these players. Maybe they make a trade for that with the major league players that they don't really need anymore, like Trent Grisham or Tommy Pham. Use some of that major league talent to bring in that other major league talent so you're not using any more of your prospects. And that's what's so interesting about this deal is that the Padres are so lucky that they have one of the best farm systems in the game. And now this just sets them up beautifully for the next couple of years. And you look at this Padres team. Think about this Padres team right now. The next 3 years, this Padres team is going to be a contender for the World Series every single season.
Yes.
And after that, they're going to have some of their top prospects coming up and keeping that up. This is going to be a dynasty for the Padres, like we're seeing with the Dodgers. They're going to be.
I agree.
Why do you disagree?
You're talking about all these top prospects. They just gave up a lot of them. And looking at it, Mackenzie Gore's coming up. He's going to be up there. Campusano's already been up. I don't know what they're going to do with him, quite frankly, yet. Ryan Weathers is up. It's not like they have all of their farm system. It's kind of depleted. Their top 30, according to MLB.com, is kind of depleted now. And there's some worries there. I don't know if you could say it's going to be a dynasty.
I think it depends on Snell.
It depends on Snell, and it depends on who they can retain long term. That's what it depends on. You can't say it depends on their farm system anymore. It's not a top tier farm system anymore, in my opinion, because they still have a lot of those guys. I'm not saying it's not talented. It is still a very talented farm system. Top tier is top 10.
I would say they're top 10.
Not anymore. Not anymore. And I think Dom will tell you the same thing after what they've given up. They're not anymore. They're still top half. Still a top half.
Top 15.
Top 10.
What do you got to say, Nick?
I just think it's worth it for at the moment. I really do think Snell is the X factor when it comes to if we're looking at a dynasty or not. Because we know I think we have an idea of what we're going to get from Darvish. But Snell was so inconsistent last year during the regular season, then he turned it on in the postseason. So for me, I mean, that rotation's just set. That has no weaknesses for me. It's just adding more bats now at this point.
And
we have question marks in left field. We have question marks all over the place now. Like the Dodgers have no question marks anywhere. And that's where the Padres are.
I'm going to vouch for the Padres. They don't have many question marks. Catcher set, starting rotation set, whole entire
bullpen.
Besides second base and left field, those are your main questions, and then bullpen. There's not a lot of question marks.
And you just name 3 though.
That's true. And in a baseball team, that is a lot.
Question marks.
The Mets have 4 question marks.
How many do the Dodgers have?
Okay, first off, whoa. Not trying to compare them at all. But I'm saying there's not that many question marks, and this is a team that's going to be competitive.
No, they are, for sure.
Yeah,
I mean,
Darvish
and Snell.
Yeah, it's
farm system.
And with Paddock struggling.
Could you imagine what this year would have looked like if they had those 2 guys in the rotation? That would have been elite. I mean, think about this for next year. Your guaranteed rotation for 2021. You've got Blake Snell, who can potentially be a Cy Young. Yu Darvish coming off arguably the best year of his career. Dinelson Lamet coming off the best year of his career. Chris Paddock hoping for a bounce-back season. If he's at his best, he is elite. And then whoever your number 5 is, I mean, you've still got 4 elite. I mean, all 4 of those pitchers can be Cy Youngs. And that's the scary thing, is that these guys can all be Cy Young caliber pitchers. You know, you look at some rotations and you say, okay, well, like you look at the Dodgers and you said last year, well, Alex Wood's not going to be a Cy Young candidate. You look at these 4 pitchers, they can all be, if they're at their best, Cy Youngs. And that's what's so scary, is that this team is going to compete with the Dodgers. And I would not be shocked if the Dodgers won the West this year. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't think it's going to happen.
Won the West?
I wouldn't be shocked if they did either. Obviously, I expect them to win it.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Dodgers won it.
Did I say the Padres?
No,
So
you said,
I thought I said
no,
the
you said
Padres.
I wouldn't be shocked if the Dodgers won it. They're the favorites, buddy.
I meant the Padres. I wouldn't be shocked if the Padres. The names sound somewhat similar, and we keep mixing them up. The Padres. I would not be shocked if they won their division this year. I would not, because they're a great team. I don't think they will, but it wouldn't surprise me because
2022. That's their year.
Also,
I agree.
Also, Marco brings up a very good point. There's a couple question marks with the Dodgers as well. Main one's David Price.
Well,
What David Price are you getting? First off,
we've seen they don't need him though.
well,
Yeah.
they're paying him a lot of money. They're gonna have to put him somewhere. Do you put him at long relief? Where do you put him? Also,
I would
closer.
say long relief.
Closer. Who's their closer? Kenley is not getting the job done.
Well, they just signed Corey Knebel, who could be their closer. I would want to test him out.
That could be it. Or honestly, if what I would do, I would bring back Blake Trinan and put him at closer. He or Knebel. Honestly,
I don't know if I trust Trinan in that spot yet, but this is not a Dodgers show. Obviously, this is
But no,
focusing on.
I know, but we're comparing these two
Yes.
teams that you have to look at the entire perspective. And I'm going to go back to the Padres farm system real quick. They have used their farm system very well. They used it very flexibly to get them top tier players like Snell and Darvish, and you got to give them a ton of credit. Nobody's going to doubt that. But at the same time, long term, this could hurt them.
I think it does, without a doubt.
Yeah, it does. Of course, your future revolves around Fernando Tatis.
Yeah,
That's where it revolves around.
and the end of Manny Machado's career.
Yes, we know. Yes, that too. But long term is not what they're focused on right now. They're focused on the short term. They're focused on getting a World Series in the next couple of years. And 2022, 2023, I think, is when they could get it. And that's their best chances. This upcoming year, they're going to be competitive. There's no doubt. This is going to be a very good team. They've got a great lineup and a phenomenal starting rotation. But bullpen's not there, and they don't have their fully strong rotation with Clevenger.
And now you also, another piece to this is putting so much pressure on all the other teams, because you look at entering this offseason, we knew that there were a couple teams that were really looking to upgrade. You had the Mets, the Padres, the White Sox, and the Angels. The Padres have just upgraded significantly, which puts pressure on those other three teams. Obviously, the White Sox, we've heard that they have money issues that maybe takes them out of that. But still, you've got the Mets and the Angels that are two teams that they have somewhat talent and are one step away or a few steps away from getting there. And they're talking a lot of talk, but they're not getting there. They're not going out and making those moves that they need to make. And this is really, and look, you look at the Mets, they're focusing a lot on the free agent market. You can't really control the speed of that. The Angels are in a bit of a similar boat, but it doesn't change the fact that this might make them push a little bit sooner. I also just saw a tweet that said that it's going to be very difficult for a guy like Francisco Lindor or maybe even Nolan Arenado to get a lot of value in a trade, because Yu Darvish just got traded for, I would honestly say that the Cubs didn't even get the proper prospects. Yes, they got a major league talent in Zach Davies, but still, I would have wanted a little bit more. They didn't even get some of their best prospects. That makes you worried if you're an Indians fan saying, what'd you say?
They got some very good prospects.
But they didn't even dip really at all. They didn't dip their toe into the top 10.
Well, here's the thing. You know what they want to do? They want to get rid of contract. This is a salary dump type situation for them. It's obvious. And honestly, I think it's best for the Cubs because the Cubs are going into
Rebuild.
It's obvious. They've got key guys coming up. They already let Schwarber go. They're trending towards a rebuild. And I think it's the best for them to dump all the salary they can. And this sets them up nicely for the future as well. They're getting some good pieces. Of course, they have to pan out. But there's so much upside with that. And for the Padres, they're getting a steal that they don't have to pay the whole entire contract left of Yu Darvish. That's just the brutal truth of it. And it's not brutal at all. It's incredible that they don't have to pay that full contract.
Yeah.
And the Padres have done it right. And Michael, talking about the pressure that's on other teams, there's no pressure on the Mets, I think, with starting rotation. They've still got an insane rotation.
Yeah.
DeGrom, Syndergaard, Stroman. They've still got that key core there. There's no stress there. Really, for the Mets, it's that bullpen. That's what it is. And the Angels, it's always been the pitching. They have the lineup. They have Trout. They have Rendon. They've got pieces. They just got to get pitching. And that's why I think the pressure is really going to hit them to give Trevor Bauer just whatever he wants.
Yeah. And then the last part of this before we head out for the night is that you look at the Cubs, and now does this start the trend of them trading?
For sure.
And we might now be seeing Contreras, Bryant, maybe even Rizzo, all gone. I don't know if they're going to trade Baez. I think they're going to keep one of their core four. And I think Baez is probably the most likely to stay out of those guys. But, I mean, this is just –
it's a domino effect.
We're thinking so much about the Padres right now and thinking, oh, my God, the Padres. But the Cubs just offloaded their ace. I mean, there's no question. They just got rid of their ace.
Not Liam Hendricks, Kyle Hendricks. Wow.
Yeah, Kyle Hendricks. But
they still got Kyle Hendricks, who's a great pitcher. But
it doesn't – this is still – they're downgraded.
Oh, no, that's not what I'm saying. They are downgrading heavily by losing him. But at the same time, it's not like they don't have any pitchers. That's all I'm trying to say there.
Yeah, I get it. I understand that. And I just think that this is going to be now – I mean, we're not even – people aren't thinking of it. I mean, this could very well be the beginning of the end of that Cubs team that was just so good for really only 3 years. And it's unfortunate.
We've seen that coming.
Yeah, but we didn't know if they were actually going to do it.
After this
Here's my question. What's going on with Jason Hayward? Does he have any value to be traded?
I do. I think he does. He had a bounce back year this year. I don't think he has as much as he – I mean, he's got more value than he did last year.
He's getting up there in age. That's my only thing.
Yeah, he's far past his prime.
Oh yeah, but he can still be a starting or backup right fielder for someone. I could see him being traded to the Rangers or something, someone who could just use that kind of player.
I don't think
but
would get in on that.
Just whoever needs that guy that isn't looking to win now. But it's just a very slippery slope that the Cubs are about to head down, where we might be here every day with some big players. And that's the one thing when you look at the free agent market every offseason. We do our free agent predictions, but we do our free agent predictions based on those signings. We don't know who's going to be traded. We don't know who's going to be traded to what team, because now you look at these free agents and the Padres right now, we all predicted a lot of different players to go to the Padres. We have a bunch of guys. I mean, we were primarily I'm just looking at our predictions right now. We primarily predicted relievers to go there, no big starters.
That's what they need.
Exactly. But I mean, this is really tough for them. And you're not going to see them get those starters. And when you make those moves, I mean, yes, again, we were just going based on signings, but for some of these teams like the Cubs, they're going to be trading these key players to guys like, let's say,
they are.
I don't know. Let's say Wilson Contreras was traded to the Phillies. Someone who needs that. That screws up the JT Realmuto market, just as a hypothetical. And you don't know.
The market for Chris Bryant is not going to be as great as people think because he's not performing as highly. But I think a team that's going to go after him is going to be the Nationals. They lost Rendon, and I think they need that bat. And I think that would be a great fit for them. The question is, the Cubs did exercise the option of Anthony Rizzo. Could they use that to see if he'll be traded? I don't know if they can trade Rizzo because it's 1 year. Unless it's a team that is going all in. Dodgers don't need him. Padres don't. Braves don't.
Reds, maybe. You've got Votto at first, but
Votto.
I could see that only if they bring the DH in the NL as a guarantee.
See, that is the biggest thing. If there's no DH, a lot of pieces get shuffled around, especially with the Padres lineup and where they put some guys. Because, especially with Cronenworth, if there's a DH, then Tommy Pham will probably move to DH and Cronenworth's in left.
Or even Ha-Seong Kim.
Yeah.
Or Kim. But I think they'll probably keep him in the field.
You never know. Shohei Ohtani's been a DH primarily.
That's because of Tommy John, though.
Yeah, that's true.
That's Shohei's different than anyone else that we've seen come over from Japan or any of these other countries is because he's had Tommy John. And I think there's a lot of question marks revolving all this on the Cubs of what do we do now? Do our guys have value? Rizzo's value isn't as great because of the contract. Hayward's value isn't that great because of age and contract.
Where does Bryant sit in all this?
He's in the middle of the pack.
He's really scaled back his production. I think the most valuable guy there is Baez. But at the same time, I think he's most likely to stay.
Yeah, I would say out of the ones that are most likely to be traded, I would say Rizzo is probably the highest value out of all of them. I mean, he's the youngest, and he has been the most consistent. But we also really can't look at 2020 for this Cubs team because they all had terrible years. You know, I mean, you really can't evaluate it. I mean, the best player on that team this year was like Albert Almora Jr. I mean, that team was just such a disaster. That
a good year.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it was really, you're going to have to look at years past. And if you look at years past, then Rizzo has been the most consistent, and Baez obviously would be the one that would get the most hype. But I just don't see Javier Baez ever leaving the Cubs. And I think that's just the way that's going to roll.
I think that if the price is right for them and they get a lot, they'll trade Baez, which would be shocking. But did we think Yu Darvish would get traded? No. It all comes down to what teams offer. And I believe that's what it comes down to. So it's very, very, very spotty with how everything's going to go down with the Cubs. But this is the start. We saw a lot of things start with Kyle Schwarber. Now it's coming into full swing. It's like you have that little leak with Schwarber. Now here comes the floodgates. They're open. Yu Darvish.
Domino effect.
It's the domino effect.
Absolutely. It's going to be a crazy winter now. It looks like we're finally getting into it. Once January hits, I'm sure we'll see Springer sign. We might even see Bauer wait maybe until February. Yeah. But January is bound to be a month of really big deals, and it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. So here we are, 24 hours later, yet another breaking news show, and it's in the books. Yes, Ryan?
I just got to say it one more time. You got to praise AJ Preller and the Padres for what they're doing. They're using that farm system different than how other organizations do it, but it's genius because they're going in that win now, and they're going to put pressure on the Dodgers. Now a lot of pressure's on the Dodgers to make those moves to keep them there, and I'm really liking it.
Padres this year.
I think that we have a great rivalry brewing between two dominant teams in the NL. It's already been good from this past year. It's only going to get better.
Is this making better than the Braves, just real quick?
Yes, absolutely. Rotation's better, lineup's better.
Actually, depends on Mike Soroka if he comes back healthy.
He won't right away, though.
The discrepancy on pitching. He's not going to come back right away. Achilles usually takes around a full year. You're right. But overall, it's close. It's extremely close. And that would be a heck of a series to watch.
Yeah, and that'll be fun. And obviously, these are all the hypotheticals that we start thinking about with these deals, and it's going to be fun. But yes,
but credit to the Padres and everything they've done.
Yes, absolutely. Big credit to them. The Padres are making moves. This might not be the last we hear of the Padres this offseason. We obviously know that this Padres team can end up being something really special over the next couple of years, as they're already shaping up to be. So it's crazy to hear of a team like the Padres that were so quiet at the beginning of our baseball lifetime. When we started watching baseball, this team has really been silent ever since. And to see them breaking on in, it's surprising, but it's definitely it's a welcome sight. And I think there's a lot of people that are happy about that. So thank you, everybody, for tuning on in. Yet another major trade by the Padres. We might be back here yet again tomorrow or in another day or so. I don't know. It seems like the Padres love doing these late night deals. So we'll have to wait and see whatever happens, but hopefully this is the Kickstarter. I said it yesterday that this might open up the rest of the offseason, and it looks like it already has. So I'm excited for it. We will be here for every single breaking news that happens, whether it's right away or a couple hours later, depending on our schedules. But thank you all for tuning on in, and we'll see you guys